I am an Ethiopian born and raised in Saudi Arabia. And like every children born to immigrant family, I grew up between cultures. I grew up in a country that felt like home, but wasn't truly mine. And like any child who grew up between cultures, somewhere along the way, we start to question ourselves, where do I truly belong? I want you all to close your eyes for a moment and imagine tomorrow you wake up in a country that is completely foreign. You don't know how to speak the language. You don't understand anything. You're out there on the street trying to find a place to eat, but no one understands a word coming out of your mouth. Now you're sitting there in desperation. Now imagine someone reaches out and speaks to you your mother tongue. You finally feel safe and seen. Open your eyes. Now that is the power of language. So growing up in Saudi Arabia, my mother made sure that our mother tongue never disappeared from our house. We kept it alive through conversations, coffee ceremonies, music, and day-to-day conversation. So at home, I spoke Tigrinya, which is my mother tongue. Outside was Arabic. And English was a language of aspiration because we went to international schools to learn English, to learn to communicate with the rest part of the world. And my name is Luwam Tesfay. I am an educator, a writer, and a multilingual storyteller. And through every language I speak, I learned something very important. That language is not just a tool for communication. It is a gateway to identity, trust, and belonging. So as a child, I loved performing on stage. And, you know, Ethiopians born in Saudi Arabia, they would call us the Mawalid, or, you know, born and raised in Ethiopia, but you don't really belong. So my mom used to take us to this amusement park. It's called Mahrajan Abu Arish. It's a town in Jazan in Saudi Arabia. So we used to go there every weekend, every Thursday, to play. And I used to be sitting here. This is the Mahrajan. I used to be sitting in one of the audience, and I used to watch these kids perform on stage. And when I saw them, I used to wish to perform on stage as well. So in one of the days, the host to engage the audience, and he was looking for volunteers to perform on stage. I remember it took me a lot of courage to raise my hand and take part in the on-stage performance, and I introduced myself. I was the only Ethiopian amongst all the Arabs, and I performed the beautiful English songs. Everybody loved it, and I was rewarded by a toy, electric car toy. I was so happy. So every weekend, I would look forward to perform on stage. I was always excited for Thursdays. So September 23 is the Saudi National Day. So the organizers of the event, they told us to prepare for that day. They told us to wear green and white and you know, show up to the event. I was so excited. And they told us, if you wear the Saudi flag and show up dressed well, you will get the opportunity to perform on the Saudi national TV for kids. I was like, this is my dream, literally. I will be the first Ethiopian to be famous in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of people are going to watch me from my own country, because I grew up watching a lot of athletes, Ethiopian athletes, raising their flag up, and I thought it was one of those moments. So I told my mom, and my mom instantly agreed, and when the day came by, I went to my mom, I dressed up, I was excited, and it happened to be that my mom's friends were also gathered on that day. So one of her friends overheard us saying, she overheard us, and then she told me, hey, you want to wear the Saudi flag? You're Ethiopian, you're Habesha, you're not wearing that flag. And I told her, no, I'm going to be famous, but she couldn't understand that. And that's when I realized I was really heartbroken, of course. I thought I could have been famous if my mom didn't decide to put me on the spotlight in front of my aunties. And that was just a highlight of a story of a Saudi-born Ethiopian. This is a picture of me in 8th grade. By this age, I knew who I was. I knew where I belonged. I was wearing my flag and my Habasha qamis proudly. And as you can see, I learned very early the power of representation. Representation is very deep. However, as you can see, this is an Ethiopian identity, Saudi upbringing, Indians, a Pakistani friendship, and a multicultural belonging. It taught me that we all are interconnected, which reminds me of the African philosophy called Ubuntu, which says, I am because we are. We are a product of the society, and wherever we go, somehow we find our way in between. So when I turned 16, we decided to move back to Ethiopia. I was like, finally, I'm coming to Ethiopia. And I didn't know I couldn't speak Amharic. Amharic was the national language, but I kind of missed out on that. And for the first time, I felt a tourist in my own country, and which taught me something very important as well. Not speaking your language does not just block communication, but it also blocks belonging. We faced a lot of culture shocks. For instance, when we first came to Ethiopia, my mother, she prepared lunch, and the guests came by. And I remember going out there and telling the guests, there's the bathroom, go wash your hands. Apparently that wasn't the Ethiopian way of treating guests, because we're supposed to bring the water and wash your hands. I didn't know that. And it reminds me of this Korean concept called the nunchi. The nunchi is the art of understanding what's left unsaid, or the unspoken rules that people know because they grew up in that country. I was Ethiopian, but I might not have been Ethiopian enough to be familiar with all these things, but through time, I learned the language, I got adapted to the culture. I even joined the government school, and they used to call me the Faranj, or the foreigner, even though I was Ethiopian. And I believe every Ethiopian born in Saudi faced that once upon a time. And, well, we found our way through it, you know? So years later, I became a teacher in an international school, and I started working with diplomatic kids. And as you all know, diplomats are people who move between countries, and especially if they have kids, they're constantly facing culture shock. My experience as a teacher in an international school has taught me that language creates emotional safety before understanding. This is my student from Libya. His name is Abdel Basit. I remember he's one of the most unforgettable students, because when he first came, he couldn't speak no English, and he would not enter the classroom without his mother because he couldn't speak anything, and he's suddenly in a foreign community. And I remember how that one moment of Arabic changed everything. I became his tutor, became his safe space, and he would reach out to me whenever he needed anything. He would sometimes run out of class, but this time he ran towards me. There was also another student from Angola. He spoke Portuguese. And the teachers couldn't understand him because he couldn't speak no English. So they reached out to me. Oh, Luwam is the multilingual teacher, go reach out to her. I tried to understand him. I spoke Spanish, so we found our way, you know, in the middle. I could understand a little bit, and it taught me that sometimes understanding comes before fluency. Today, we are living in a world that is we are living in an easy access world, Everybody is instantly connected through social media, through, a lot of means. However, many of us feel unheard. I believe the biggest barrier between between people is the lack of empathy. Many of us are quick to point out at what makes us different from each other instead of seeing what actually connects us. Perhaps we can heal the world through understanding. Perhaps we don't need to depend on some government or institution to heal the world, because healing starts from the man in the mirror. Healing starts from ourselves. And when we know how to appreciate differences and diversity, I believe we are going to find that middle ground, a place where there is peace, a place where everybody is accepted, because diplomacy comes when there is understanding. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Raise your hands if you can relate. Okay, I'm about to ask you the question. Raise your hands if you felt worried about a loved one during COVID-19. Raise your hands if you felt isolated and missed human connection. Raise your hands if you all prayed for a brighter and a better world, because we all had that same fear. Now you see, we all spoke the same language. There might be a language that all of us speak, and that is the language of shared experience. Because when we share experience, we understand. And when we open our eyes to see what that person embodies, what stories he has to share, or what stories has shaped that person, we can create a better world. And the universal language that we all know is the language of shared experience. And perhaps the opposite of war is not peace. Perhaps the opposite of war is understanding. Now, this is a painting by an amazing artist who is amongst us in the audience, Fatima Bakr. Yes, she's an amazing artist, right there. She drew this painting. I took her painting because she lived the same experience as I did, and I decided to share it with the audience. This is a young boy. He's looking through the window of opportunities. You can see the cities, the light. It's all a window of hope. And as you can see at the corner, that's his family. Everybody is relying on him to go out there and seek for the opportunity. My parents was once on the foot of that boy, and they all moved out seeking for a better opportunity. So everybody has these stories, but what we can do is be open-minded, listen to what shaped their stories, and together we can heal the world. I hope this message was worth sharing. Thank you very much.